behalf of the Cape May County Prosecutor's Office, I want to welcome you to this presentation of Pills to Heroin. My name is Joseph Landis. I'm a lieutenant with the Cape May County Prosecutor's Office.
My name is Danielle Mitchell. I'm a detective with the Prosecutor's Office.
My name is Edward Shim, and I am an assistant prosecutor for the County of Cape May.
Today we're here to talk to you about a serious issue, an issue of drug addiction and drug abuse within the county and within the entire state and across the country. We want to start off by talking about addiction. And if you take a look at the picture behind me, there's something unique about that picture. Addiction does not discriminate. You can see it doesn't matter the race that you are, it doesn't matter the religion you are, if you're tall, if you're short, your financial status, it doesn't discriminate. Addiction affects everybody the same way, and you should never feel like you're obsolete from being in the shoes of someone who's already been there.
Now, we are here today to talk specifically about pills to heroin, really trying to focus in on the heroin addiction and problem that is going on in our country and in our community. Now, one of the things you may be wondering is, how about marijuana? I know there's a lot of talk in this country about marijuana. There's experiments in Denver where they've legalized it. Here's what I'm going to say about marijuana to you. In New Jersey, it is illegal at this time. You may ask, well, how does that fit in? Here's what I will tell you. It is true. Not every person who smokes marijuana will become a heroin addict. However, every person who is a heroin addict has smoked marijuana. So it is a drug that is illegal, dangerous, and could lead to having a heroin addiction. It is still a gateway drug, but this program we're going to be focusing in on pills.
I started doing pills when I got hurt. They made the pain go away. Well, some of it.
Reasons addiction occurs happens for many reasons. People become addicted unintentionally by taking prescription narcotics for a legitimate reason. People are injured in sporting events, they're injured in their everyday life, but what happens is people start to take the pills and their bodies rely on these pills, and that's where the addiction occurs. Also, addiction occurs when kids suffer from peer pressure. Their friends are taking it, so they're forced now to try it because their friends are putting pressure on them. We need kids to not subdue to this pressure and basically understand that these pills were given to people for a specific reason. And you know, the people that they were given to were evaluated by doctors. They were seen by somebody and they were given a specific dosage that was not meant for the person to be taking it who it wasn't prescribed to. They also take these pills for many other reasons. They're chasing the high of the initial time that they tried these drugs. People don't understand that sometimes when you try these drugs for the very first time, you get an extremely good feeling because it takes away a lot of your pain. And that's what it's supposed to do. But the problem is people then like that feeling and they continue to take the drugs when they shouldn't be taking them to continue that feeling. And that's again where the addiction just leads you down that slow, long road.
Behind me you will see a bunch of names of drugs that concern the Cape May County Prosecutor's Office. You should be aware of their names. You should be on the lookout for them because these drugs are the gateway drugs. OxyContin, you're going to hear the name Oxys. You're going to hear about Perks, Perk 30s, which is another name for OxyContin. You're going to hear about Vicodin and hydrocodone. We're going to talk a little bit about fentanyl moving forward. That is an extremely dangerous drug. We're also going to talk about methadone, a drug that is used to help people get off of heroin, but also can be abused as a drug that will get you high. Klonopin, that is a tranquilizer which many people use and become addicted to. Suboxone, also known as buprenorphine, is another drug that is commonly used to help people come off of heroin, but is also abused by people. That is available as a film strip that you place under your tongue. So that is something that is also abused, and you can become addicted to that. Valium is a drug that was popular in the 70s, but still around. That is a tranquilizer, and that is also very addicting. And we're also going to talk about codeine cough syrups later on, but these are things that kids are abusing, and you can become addicted to them. Prescription drugs. They are obtained usually legally by somebody and then taken by somebody without that person's permission, and they use it. They are also probably purchased illegally from places. But the most common thing that we are seeing that you should be aware of is kids going into the medicine cabinets of grandparents, of family friends, and then turning them over to you.
Sean! Come on, Sean, you gotta wake up. You're not gonna be late again. Sean! Sean? Oh, no.
They said prescription painkillers were totally safe. They lied.
Now, methadone. Methadone is a drug that was designed to help people come off of heroin. It is available in liquid form, but it's also available as a pill form. Methadone is a drug that helps people, but in the wrong hands, it will get you high, and it is something that can lead to a heroin addiction. Now, fentanyl is a thing that we as law enforcement and you as a young citizen, you should be concerned about. Fentanyl is a synthetic opium drug. What does that mean? Synthetic means that it is man-made. It is 100 times more powerful than morphine. 100 times more. And it is skin absorbent. What does that mean? That means if you touch it on your skin for the very first time, it can absorb into you, and you can have a fatal reaction from it. What are drug dealers doing? Drug dealers are now lacing heroin, which is already dangerous, and they are adding fentanyl on top of that. If you were to touch this substance, you were to pick up an empty bag that's on the ground, you could have an overdose because you are not used to taking it. This is very dangerous. It's also available as a lollipop and as a patch. Understand that the people who take fentanyl are people who are on their last stages of cancer or are in a lot of pain. It is an important drug for people who are in pain, but it is also a very dangerous drug when it is used illegally. Oxys, oxycodone. It is a drug that is maybe at the heart of the pills to heroin problem in our county, in our country. And it is, again, another drug that is very important. If you have cancer, and many people do, there is pain involved in cancer. And so people are given this pain medication to control that pain. However, if you start taking it and it isn't for that pain, you could get and will likely become addicted to it, because that is just what the drug does. The drug fights pain, but at the same time will cause your body and you to become addicted. Now you can see that is available in different forms. Percocet is a brand. It's also available generically. But the chemical drug that's in there is oxycodone. Again, you're going to hear names like Perc 30s or Oxy 30s. When you hear these things, please stay away from them because they are dangerous. They are the gateway drugs to heroin, and in fact, the chemicals that are contained inside of them are very similar and like heroin.
As the prosecutor said, talking about oxycodone, Oxycontin was a drug that was created for a good reason, to help people who are suffering from pain. However, children today and kids and adults all are finding new ways to use these drugs, more deadly ways to use these drugs. Oxycontin, for example, was created as a time-release drug. You take it into your body and it digests over time. However, kids now and adults are doing something where they're basically chasing the dragon, so they call it. And they are basically smoking the pills. And they're basically taking the coatings off the pill, actually putting some heat to it, and then they're burning the pill and inhaling the fumes. Very dangerous method. It's not meant to be used like that. It's supposed to be time-lapse into your body. These effects are felt very quickly, within 5 to 10 seconds, and you're getting all the high at one time, which causes sometimes, if not all the time, an immediate overdose. Things that you should look out for, specifically parents, or anybody who you may think may be using this method, you'll see burnt tin foil, where you'll see the actual pills that were burned and the lines on the tin foil. These are some signs that you should look out for and be aware of, that someone around you, a family member or a friend, may have a problem.
They said one hit wouldn't hurt. They said one hit wouldn't hurt. They lied.
This is an updated statistics from the Center Disease Control up to 2013, the national overdose rates between males and females. And as you can tell by the slide, it goes up, starts low from 2001 and it increases up to 2013. The deaths from prescription drugs have increased because of the availability to young kids and to people who keep it within their homes. And due to that, the statistics have risen. Unwanted and unused medication. There is a once-a-year Operation Take Back that our county and nationwide have done and will take back prescription drugs. This year, 2016, in April, we had 179 pounds of prescription drugs that were taken back, that were returned to the local police departments. And if you have unwanted drugs at home and want to keep them out of reach of family members, of teenagers, you can bring these prescription drugs to any police department within the county, state police, to our office at any time. That way they are legally and safely removed from your home so they can be kept out of reach.
Now, this is something that concerns me as a prosecutor and concerns me as a parent. And it's going to be a thing called purple drank. Now, when you have a cold and you are coughing, you would go to the doctor and he would give you cough medicine. Oftentimes, people keep these cough medicines around because they may need it again. And so long as a parent has it and you're only using it for that, that is good. But what is going on is that kids are also now taking these cough medicines and they are drinking it. And they are drinking it in large amounts so much that they are getting high from it. And you'll see behind me the different names that they go by. Please know what these kids are talking about and stay away from it. Essentially what you're doing is you're overdosing on the cough medicine. Remember when your parents gave you cough medicine? They gave you a teaspoon. Probably you didn't like it. But what kids are doing is they are taking a huge amount of it, and what happens is it's actually poisoning you. You're going to hallucinate. You're going to get drowsy. You're going to get sick. And you could overdose and die from this fatal amount of cough medication. Now, dextromethorphan is another substance that's out there. Now, it is available by just going to the store and looking for what is known as DM, dextromethorphan, Robitussin DM. It's in there. It's out there available. What kids are doing with this, too, is they are drinking the whole bottle, essentially overdosing, taking so much, and when they do, what's really happening is you're poisoning yourself. You're poisoning yourself to a point of getting high. And although you may get high, it is also something that could result in your death by overdosing. So please, these are things to avoid. It is not okay.
From this, we're going to make our transition now from all the prescription narcotics and these other drugs that we've been talking about into heroin. And that's pretty much the next step in addiction. What is happening is all of the people today, specifically the younger generation, we're seeing them get their hands on these strong, potent medications that are legally prescribed, and they're abusing them. And what eventually happens is, after they abuse them for so long, the pills start to cost more money. The prescriptions run out. They aren't able to be refilled, and you have to turn to an alternative, a much cheaper alternative, which we're going to talk about now, in heroin. The new face of heroin. So when someone asked me, what do you think of when you think of a heroin addict? I think of, from a long time ago, someone who was older. They had no money. They were dressed very poorly. They were living in the streets. That's not what we see today. Today what we see is every normal kid in school who's going to school, who's sitting home playing these video games. But what they're doing is they're using these drugs while they're doing that. So what we're seeing is these young kids sitting at home, using the drugs, and then they start to nod off when they're playing the games, and then they need some more pills, so they have to jump to something new, and they take that leap to buy a bag of heroin.
They said heroin would be the best high I ever had.
Sweetheart? Okay. Sweetie? Listen to me!
They said heroin would be the best high I ever had. They lied.
And what was said is true, that the face of heroin is my face. The face of heroin is Officer Landis, is Officer Musa. It's your neighbor. It isn't what we picture in the movies of somebody who is a bum on the street. It is the person next door. It is young people and it's old people. Well, what does heroin do? Heroin, I'm not going to lie to you, gets you high. You'll see the word euphoria. But what does euphoria mean? That means feeling really good. But here's the problem. The problem is in getting high and feeling euphoric, your body becomes addicted. And what turned out to be something that may have been fun is going to turn into a nightmare. It's going to turn into a nightmare not only for you, but to your family and to your community. Heroin is nothing to play around with. The drug will do what it is designed to do. It will kill pain in your body, but you will become addicted. let me be clear. You will become addicted if you use heroin. Maybe even once. Definitely when you use it a couple times. And when you try to get off of it, you are going to feel terrible. You are going to feel like the worst cold you ever had multiplied by 100. It's been described as somebody beating you. So this is the price that you pay by using heroin.
When we talk about heroin, it's important for you to know what these terminology may be that these drug dealers and drug users are calling it, so that if you have a family member or a friend who is addicted and maybe using it, that you will be able to identify some of these signs. Some street names for heroin that you may hear are dope, H, or diesel. A lot of times, though, they will refer to it by the bag name. Typically, heroin has some form of a stamp on the wax paper fold. In a minute, I will show you some of these pictures so you'll have a better understanding of what an actual bag looks like. But if you hear some of these names like White House, Knockout, a lot of times they'll do these names and they'll market them towards children. Some of the bags that we have to show you today are specifically marketed towards children because they're more vulnerable. What does heroin look like itself? It can look like a wide variety of things, but the four behind me are the most typical: a beige, white, brownish, off beige color. And the only thing difference between any of them is the cutting agents that they use when they make the drug. Depending on what the drug distributors and at the higher level mix in with these drugs, which they call cut, will then turn the final product a different color. But they all produce the same deadly effect, and most times and oftentimes is a fatal overdose. As Prosecutor Shim said earlier when he talked about fentanyl, I can't express to you how dangerous fentanyl is, and the drug dealers know this. So much that the drug dealers are intentionally cutting their product with fentanyl because they know how potent it is, 80 to 100 times more potent. And on top of that, they know that if they distribute these products with fentanyl in it, unknowingly to users, the users are typically know how much they can use, but if they're using one bag that's equivalent to 80 bags, they're going to overdose. And the sad part about that is the drug dealer's intentions sometimes are to have these people die. Because if a user dies from using a bag that a dealer sold to them, essentially the other users are going to want to try to find that bag because they think that it's the super drug or the good stuff on the street, and that they know how to control their habits, so they know how much to use, when there is no control. When a drug like fentanyl is mixed in to another drug, it's going to produce fatal overdoses. And we're seeing that throughout the county, throughout the state, and throughout the country. These are some names that they put on the bags when they stamp it. Rest in peace, lethal injection. And they do that for a reason, because it's a game. It's a money-making game to them, and it's all about greed. These are some of the combinations that we're seeing throughout the county, and this is just our county alone. I mean, the drug dealers don't care what they mix it with, how deadly the combination. You can see heroin with caffeine, heroin with fentanyl, heroin with acetafentanyl and fentanyl. Acetafentanyl is the same thing as fentanyl to a point. It's an analog, and basically it just means that the chemical structure was changed slightly, and it's a little bit less potent, but it is still at least 5 to 8 times more potent than heroin itself. And this just goes to show you, this screen behind me, drug dealers don't care what they're mixing it with. All they care is selling their product, and it doesn't matter to them who gets hurt in the end.
Bags of heroin. Dealers will put together bundles, as you can see by the screen behind me. The blue bags with the black rubber bands around them, that would be a bundle. So dealers will put together 10 bags or 14 bags in order to sell them together. We've also seen within our county different other ways of marketing them. It's either going to be by the color of the wax paper fold, or by just the wax paper fold by itself, or it could be within the plastic bag. The stamp, like Lieutenant Landis had already mentioned, the stamp is to market that dealer's product. So they'll put any type of stamp on there to get out that that is their product, that is the specific drug that they will be selling. And they'll market it that way, and if people are dying from overdosing off their drug, that stamp is the stamp that they will be looking for specifically to make more money. The bags behind me are bags that we've seen throughout our county, and they've marketed towards kids. Call of Duty. That stamp is a video game. It looks good for children. Since they're more vulnerable, they're going to go for something that they can relate to. Same thing with Pitbull and all the other stamps that we've seen that have fentanyl in it. And they'll put anything on there to get the children to buy their product. What the dealers will tell you, they'll tell you anything. They'll become your friend. They will give you a free bag, that way you become addicted to it. They'll tell you that it is cool, that it's the popular thing to do, and if you don't do it, then you're unpopular, you're not cool. So they'll tell you anything to make you buy their product, to become friends with them. Females, we've seen that females are most vulnerable for drug dealers to come to them, and they'll make promises to them. They'll have them start to prostitute for them and to make money not only for the drug dealer, but also the female will also start making money for the drug dealer. So make your own decisions. Do not follow anybody, and really think before you go out and are going to try these drugs.
It's easy hiding my heroin habit from my parents. If I'm tired or don't eat, I'm just acting like a typical kid. I hide my stash in my room because I know my parents would never snoop. They don't notice the missing painkillers either, or the money I take from their wallets, but I think they're going to notice this.
Heroin can be a deadly preparation. You're mixing a deadly drug with a combination of other things, and as you can see behind me, this is what you're ultimately going to ingest into your body. That dark, murky brown water will eventually have to be injected into your body. As you can see behind me, the images are not very fun to look at, but that's the truth and that's the reality. When you get to this point, and ultimately you will get to this point, whether you start out smoking heroin or you start out snorting it, eventually you're going to turn to the quickest way to get this drug into your body, and that is to intravenously put it into your veins. So you're going to have to take a needle and shoot that brown murky water directly into your bloodstream. And as you can see behind me, again, it's not a pretty sight. Users will go to many lengths to try to hide where they're shooting it from their family and friends, and no matter the pain that it causes them in a particular area where they do it, they're going to try.
And in that slide, you will see that that person was injecting it between their toes to try to hide the track marks. So this is the extremes and the levels that people are going to go to. And that's why we're here, to help prevent you from being one of those individuals.
Again, you can see on the screen behind me, this is the level and the severity that this drug business has gotten to. The dealers and the drug suppliers and the drug marketers are taking legitimate oxycodone pills and they're making fictitious pills. They're mocking those versions which contain heroin in them. You can see that the picture on the left is a real picture of an oxycodone pill. You can see that the clarity of the pill is much clearer, the etchings on it are much nicer and done in a professional manner in a laboratory, and then the ones on the right are fictitious. And they're doing this to hide that drug from you, from their family, so that it's unsuspecting and unknowingly that you see that there is an issue with them. And it's another way that they can hide the drug on the street from law enforcement. So if you see pills like this laying around that look like they were made in not in a laboratory, maybe in a garage, it's a sign.
Although it says imitation pill, what they are really is their heroin in pill form. And this is new to law enforcement. We have not seen heroin in pill form, but we are now seeing it. Before you, you will see the blue pill, which says M, it's in a box, and it says 30. That is an oxycodone 30 milligram tablet that is available for people who have cancer. Now, that is also abused by many people and is about $30 per pill on the street. What are drug dealers doing? Now they're using heroin and they're making pills and they're putting the M inside the box. These are the extremes that these dealers will go to get you addicted. Why do they want to get you addicted? Because they want to sell you more drugs. They don't care about you. That is the bottom line. All they want is to sell you a product. And you will now see behind me, this is the end result of a heroin addiction. Because you can't take it forever. Most heroin users eventually run out of friends. They can't keep their job. They can't steal anymore because they're caught. And now they're going to go through withdrawal. I told you before that going through heroin withdrawal is probably the worst thing that you can experience. There is tremendous body pain. You're going to throw up. You can see behind me what these people go through. That's why we are here, to help you not get to this state.
As you can see behind me, this is the statistics, up-to-date statistics for Cape May County drug-related overdoses. As of today, as I speak to you today, in May of 2016, we're at 39 overdoses, 3 fatal, and 20 administrations of Narcan, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, by law enforcement to individuals on the street to help them make it to the hospital or make it somewhere so that they can actually be helped not to be subject to a fatal overdose. As you can see, I don't know where the numbers are going to go from here to the end of the year. I'm hoping that we stay in line with the previous years. You can see we went down, and I attribute going down from 121 overdoses in 2014 down to 110 in 2015. That is attributed to this work, to people getting out like law enforcement and the prosecutor's offices and the local municipalities and the schools putting on presentations and getting the word out to people, to children, adults, everyone, that drugs are dangerous and we need to stop this before these numbers start to climb uncontrollably and before more people lose family members. This is national statistics for heroin-related overdoses, and as you can see, they're jumping extremely high. I mean, from 2001 till 2013, it's skyrocketed. That's not a good thing for us. We need to continue to be vigilant in talking to our children, talking to family members, talking to friends, and getting people the help that they need to help this stop this vicious cycle of drug abuse and drug addiction on the street.
Now, we talked about the decrease, and that is good, but the fact remains that the heroin problem in our country is not going away. We believe in Cape May County it's going down because of the work that is being done everywhere, and we are speaking to you, younger children. We're not going to wait till high school. We're not going to wait till you're an adult because we want to warn you. Now, Lieutenant Landis spoke about a drug called Narcan. Narcan is a very important drug. What does it do? It's an antidote. It reverses the effects. Actually, it blocks the effect of the heroin. So a person takes heroin, they overdose on it, and what happens? They stop breathing because this drug is in their body. Well, when you give Narcan, it basically kicks that drug out, and it's like an antidote. It reverses the effects, so that person can now come back to life. Law enforcement in our community, they have Narcan available. You need to know about it. If you know somebody who is using heroin and you find them, you call 911, tell the police what is going on, and they will have Narcan and they will administer it and save them. It is available as a nasal form. It's also available as an injection, but our law enforcement have it in a nasal form. They would come, and if the person overdosed, they would shoot that up their nose, and it would bring them back. It has saved many lives in our county within the last year, and it is saving lives throughout this country. Now, I am an assistant prosecutor. I am a lawyer. I prosecute. So those of you who may not know what happens if you are arrested and a grand jury in our county decides that the case is worthy of prosecuting, then I become involved as a lawyer. I represent the state, and there are certain punishments. You are presumed innocent, obviously, until you plead guilty or you have a trial. Drug possession, simple possession of heroin, of any controlled dangerous substance, could subject you to prison. Now, I know none of you want to go to prison, and I don't want to send any of you to prison. However, if you are found with heroin, you could go to jail in a New Jersey state prison from between 3 to 5 years, and that is what the law calls for. You know what's even worse? Many of you are in school, if not all of you, and you're trying to become something. Once you're convicted of a felony, the problem is that it may ruin your career. Family, they're affected. Your finances are affected. Let's be honest. People are not going to want to hire someone that has a criminal record. These are all other reasons why, but the main reason is your own safety. That's why I personally don't want you to use heroin or even become involved in it. This is just another casualty of becoming a heroin user and addict. Now, drug court. Drug court is a program that was created in New Jersey to help people who committed a crime because of drug use. It's a 5-year program. People admit that they did something and they come in and we watch them. We watch them and we help them. It is a team of people. I am a drug court assistant prosecutor. There is a public defender who represents the participant. There's a judge, there's probation officers, and there's people who help them clinically, rehab providers. And what we do over the course of 5 years is we try to restore these people's lives. And they need restoring because their lives have been destroyed. We don't want you to come anywhere near being a participant in drug court. That's why we are here. However, we also want to educate you in case you know of someone and you can suggest to them and tell them about these programs.
Oftentimes, people become addicted and they don't have nowhere to turn. They don't know where to turn. Family members find out of a loved one or a friend who's addicted and they don't know what to do. They don't have anybody to call. These services behind me will all help you. A lot of them are free. Some will help you with insurance. They will find a way to get you what you need. They have people ready on standby for your calls. You can email them and they will always be there to assist you. These are county services. They all do the same thing. Some do a little bit different, but essentially they are there to help you and your family fight this addiction and get the help that you need to get on that better road to life. If you don't want to call them and you're just not sure, you can always reach out to us at the prosecutor's office, myself, Assistant Prosecutor Shim, Detective Mitchell, and we will then try to guide you in the right direction. When we finish this presentation, our numbers and email addresses will be on the screen behind us. Please don't hesitate to call. This is what we're here for. We're about helping people and trying to make a change in the community, in the children, and in the future of the citizens of the county.
Overdose prevention. This is another law that was created. What does that mean? It means that if you call for help for somebody who has overdosed and we find drugs on that person, we will not prosecute them. because the goal is to save lives. We don't want to punish drug addicts. We want to help them. So even if you yourself are someone who used drugs and you overdose, if you call, so if anybody calls because there is an overdose, any drugs that are found, we cannot prosecute. That is important. You need to know that. Never leave somebody who you suspect is in trouble from an overdose. And if something happens, you can let them know. Assistant Prosecutor Shim told me that I wouldn't get in trouble, and I will come and I will help you. We don't want anybody to overdose and die because you were afraid to call police. That's why this law is created. It was created to protect you. Please use it. So be a real friend. A real friend calls 911 when that person is in trouble. If it's alcohol, doesn't matter. If they are overdosing, you call for help. Be a real friend. Call 911. I want to thank you for watching this presentation. Again, my name is Edward Shim. I am an assistant prosecutor for Cape May County. My number is behind me. Please call me if you need me.
I'm Detective Danielle Mitchell.
And I'm Lieutenant Joseph Landis. Please call us again. Our number is behind us if you need anything or if you need any type of help for a family or a friend, and we will do our best to guide you in the right direction.